This episode of Badass Agents Podcast is brought to you by Jason Smith team at Nova Home Loans. Jason, a Navy veteran, has been recognized as one of the top 100 loan originators in the country. There is no task too big or too small for the Jason Smith team. Every client counts. For the best rates and great service, contact Jason at 480-227-6231 or visit novahomeloans.com. I personally stand by his service, and so do thousands of satisfied clients. That's Jason Smith at Nova Home Loans. NMLS number 210839.
Go from real estate to having a full-time job to making all these little things happen because it's not happening within real estate for you. But it's not the actual real estate that's not happening. It's the processes that you don't have in mind. You're not consistent in those processes to see if they failed, if they're good, or you don't give it enough time and make some adjustments. One without the other will not survive. And that's why people are jumping from one career to the next career, becoming, real estate, agents to loan officers to title. And I'm like, stay in one position and become good.
All right, welcome to another episode of Mindset Mastery. I am your host, AZ Araujo, and I have a very special guest today. We had in our event, and it was only the next logical step is to invite you, Carla.
I appreciate that. Thank you very much.
To invite you to Mindset Mastery, just because we had so much to talk about. We had so many people come up to us after the event.
In such little time.
It did, so little time, and we held our first event, which was our Ignite event, and I'm hearing a lot of echoes. Does it sound like that here? Sorry about that, guys. We're still trying to get used to our studio here, but I'm hearing a lot of echoes right now.
You sound fine.
Yeah? Okay. So we just had our Ignite event in our very own house. And one of the things I mentioned is, we were in the house that the work built, right? That the work built. And there were so many references to, here's somebody else's phone, to how important it was to have faith, and do the work as a faith-based statement. Because oftentimes we don't know what's going to come from it.
We don't know what's going to come out of doing the work.
Yeah, when we say do the work.
Kind of walking in the dark.
When we say that, it is walking in the dark. Mm-hmm. It's saying that, hey, the results you want, it's on the backside of the work. Mm-hmm. And with the work, it's monotonous. It's painful. It's forever going. Mm-hmm. And it seems like the more we do, sometimes we don't get that result. Mm-hmm. And to understand that it is a faith-based statement, meaning that, if you have faith in an outside source outside of you, right? Something greater, like God.
Right.
And also it's something greater within you.
Right.
It's that person that you can become, but it's all based on the work. And Carla, like you and I just, you were telling stories about the different agents that were, receiving the awards. But what I found a lot of satisfaction, tell me if you got the same thing, was realizing that where their story began, like understanding where their story began. It's not like they came over here and were uber successful.
I think we forget. I think through time, because we see ourselves in a different light, the person who we were seems so far from us that we can't see that person anymore because it doesn't exist. But I think we forget when we run through these, these difficult obstacles at a different level now that we're like, wait a minute, we've been here before. It's so easy. But again, we can only go so far if you continue deep down inside having that exact same mindset when you first started. But I think these the top producers understand that process behind it is like they're walking in faith. Like they have to understand that they're walking in the dark. They don't know what it's going to be on the other side, but they have to continue the work because they've been there so many times. And it's like it just becomes easier. It's always hard, but it becomes easier to overcome the difficult, the hard part of it. So, but no, the stories were great because I wanted to recap everything. Like, hey, this is what I remember about you. And I'm so thankful and grateful that I'm alongside of you, handing this award to you because but you took so much work to get to this point. You're not even halfway done. It's
amazing. Just every story. I still remember every person walking through the doors of A's and Associates, and to see them on stage.
Yep.
I mean, there was so much pride. There was so many moments. I just wanted to look to the sky and just.
There were so many successful stories I could have told about each and every one. On the audience, each and every one of them, but I could be there all night, So, because there's a story to tell behind every successful person, and that's what I believe. And so, but one of that really brought tears to my eyes, and I want to mention him because he is the one that I saw when we first met him. It was so bad, but he kept going and pushing through and questioning the process. Is Rio Verdero, and did I pronounce that right?
Vidrio.
And because I trained him for a long time, and I said, you know, he was vomiting, he felt like passing out during the process because he never worked out at this elite level. And to see him going through the Ironman and 100-mile bike rides and the swim, and I mean, man, he's a fast swimmer. And to see who he is now, and he could only go further from this point, right? He's not even there yet. But to where I first met him, he should have given up a long time ago, but he didn't. He kept going and going. And I cracked this joke because I think it's the funniest thing. He didn't have a bike, and you guys were already out, you know, out front and biking and going, you know, your 20, 30, 40-mile bike rides. And he's barely starting to catch up, just, you know, losing some weight and, you know, the endurance and all that. And he said, I don't have a bike. I said, borrow my bike. And he gets on this pink bike and he takes off with you guys, and you left him in the dust. But he kept going, and he treats his business the exact same way. He just basically is going on, I don't know what's going to come out of it, but I sure as hell I'm not going to stop.
Yeah,
you know?
And a lot of that comes from realizing that there's a pattern in everything, in every success. The pattern is it's going to be hard at first. It's going to be very difficult. There is no solution at first. And the more you keep going, all of a sudden you're standing in a different place where you're seeing a different perspective on how to be able to get there. And I do remember that because he went out, you know, the first few times, and we would leave him so far back, and then we would catch back up to him, and then we would pass him back coming back home. And I remember his average was like 13 miles an hour. Right. He was so, you know, he was proud of that. But now to be where we're at, it's an amazing feat. But that also correlates to the business, what he's done with his business. He's had that faith, the do the work framework of saying, okay, I know it's going to be tough, but if I continue to do the small things, I mean, it ultimately will give you what you want. And he's living an amazing life, one of the top 1%.
It's a sense of empowerment that you get when you are strong and powerful in all aspects of your life, like in all areas of your life, not just in business, but in your health and your marriage and relationship with your kids and just everyone around you. When you're in your power constantly, it's like you become unstoppable. And, you know, when I saw him complete the Ironman, and he's sitting on the floor, and he's against, and I'm looking at you too. There's and Jesse Obarka as well, and several of you out there that did the Ironman, and you guys are sitting on the floor. You're kind of taking it all in. It's an emotional point because, you know, that's your first Ironman, and you guys got it done like champs. I just kind of stood and looked at you guys with this like sense of like, I don't know, just proud. I was proud to see every single one of you guys, because it only becomes easier. And that's why I said you have to do another one, because the more you do, your mindset starts to shift like, oh, my legs remember this run. My body remembers this bike. My body remembers this swim. And it just becomes easier and your time gets better and you become better. The quality behind it is completely, it improves. You become a champ at it. So your mindset shifts, right? Into like, wait a minute, this Ironman is not as difficult as I thought. So let me challenge myself even deeper, because your time gets better. Same thing goes in your business. It's like if you don't take great falls in your business and understand that that's part of the process and get yourself back up, because you have a great system. That's a system, right? You started the business, you started your health, but now the processes in the systems have to, you know, be modified or changed. But you don't change the actual system. What you got going on is great. Keep doing that. But the process, if it's not working, keep going and modify that process, because without the processes, your system sucks. And you don't even have one.
Give us an example of like a process. What do you mean by that?
Well, okay, so I'll give you an example with the business. We opened up the brokerage many years ago. How long have we been in business? 16, 17 years, right? Yep. So we've always been, you know, before we used to do the retail store. So our system is we want to be business owners. We don't want to work for anybody else. How are we going to make this happen? So we didn't have a process. We ran the brokerage without processes. But we didn't, when we were failing with the brokerage or with the UPS store and all that, right? That's the system in our mind, right? We're like, okay, we know we don't want to work for anyone. We want to work for ourselves. But the processes behind that suck. We didn't have any. Our accounting was off. We didn't even know what we were doing. We just know we just kept chugging along. It's like we were walking in the dark with the lights off. Yeah. But no matter what we were tripping over, we were like, okay, nothing broke. I'm okay. Get back up and keep going, right? Until we find that light switch. The light, you know.
And I got such a good visual from that, because it is like walking with your hands in front of you
in the business,
in the dark. Yeah.
So until you understand the process and you get processes in place and understanding that not every single process is going to fit that system, and it's okay. You have to keep going and making adjustments into the process. and they only become better. So the vision in the dark becomes clear because your path becomes clear, that the light switch is only at reach, like right there. So it's like, okay, it's right there. It's not so hard anymore because you've cleared it. You cleared the path to get to that point right in the dark. So the processes within the system, if you're not getting that straight, or if you're giving up on a process, that doesn't mean you have to give up on the system. Just modify the process or make it better in order to, because one without the other cannot survive.
Yeah.
And that's kind of within the brokerage. You opened the brokerage years ago, and you even said it yourself. You're like, I have a great system. I know this is what I want, but my processes, the bells and whistles within it suck. I don't know what I'm doing, but I know one thing for sure, and I witnessed it all. You didn't stop. You modified it, you removed, you added. There was so much money that was being invested and lost and gained. It was incredible just to see you in this roller coaster in your business within the brokerage. And I saw all that. And I'm lucky and blessed to be a side of you and making all this happen because you weren't able to handle it all. So I took the financial part of it and I'm like, okay, I need to get smarter into the financial part of it because I know what 10 years down the road is going to look like, which, by the way, 10 years came and left quick. So if you're still maneuvering and messing with the processes and you're like, okay, well, let me try this, but you're actually leaving the system, because some people go from real estate to having a full-time job to making all these little things happen because it's not happening within real estate for you. But it's not the actual real estate that's not happening. It's the processes that you don't have in mind. You're not consistent in those processes to see if they failed, if they're good, or you don't give it enough time and make some adjustments. One without the other will not survive. And that's why people are jumping from one career to the next career, becoming, real estate, agents to loan officers to title. And I'm like, stay in one position and become good at it, because you're good in the system. You're good what you got going on, but you give up because it just becomes too scary. The faith starts to fade because it's failing on you. It's like, no, if God put it there, God put it in your mind. You got your license. It's there. Right? It's there. If you think about it, it's supposed to be there.
Yeah. Now
go with that and go hard.
Go hard.
And it's going to be dark, but it's a beautiful thing in the dark. You get to know yourself. Your faith grows more and more powerful in the dark. It doesn't grow in the light. It grows in the dark. That's when it grows, not in the light. In the light is easy. We all say thank you to the Lord when good things happen.
It's more of an appreciation in the light.
And yes, in the dark,
it grows.
It grows tremendously. So you can either go the easy way out, look for another avenue, or stay exactly where you're at and have that faith grow and understand that you only become better.
And the dark, I think that's one of the things that every member of our, of A's and Associates we've witnessed, is each one of them has gone through the dark. Every one of them has gone through the dark and learned those lessons, which created greater faith. And not only that, it allowed them to build the process of consistency. And that process made that system, right? That system more fruitful. And that's one of the things that we started talking about, Carla, is like every member that was up there from, the Do the Work Award, 3.5 million, all the way up, the people at the top of the totem pole, per se, they have the same system as this other person. However, their process is more consistent.
Right.
Their process is more consistent, more diligent, more
right.
intentional on a daily basis. And I think that's what we have to realize. And a lot of members don't necessarily get that right away, that, the system is there, but it doesn't mean that your system is going to go ahead and pay the fruits of what our top producers are doing right now. But if you stick with the game plan based on faith, based on doing the work, then it'll eventually catch up, and it'll eventually give you the results you've always desired. But I love what you said. If you're in this business, it's because God put that in your mind.
Right.
And we can't give up on it once it gets a little difficult. And right now, a lot of agents are feeling that pinch, the difficulty of getting offers accepted, the difficulty of getting, listings signed. And, they're losing some of that faith, thinking that somebody else will offer them something greater.
Right.
When in fact, they just have to modify the process.
Right.
Because we have to be able to be adaptable with the market. Mm-hmm. And just because the system works right now doesn't mean it's going to work tomorrow if the market is changing. And that's what the work allows you to do, to always be in front of that work. So you're able to adjust and pivot and move forward powerfully, right? And one of the things that I wanted to talk to you a little bit about as well was, how did you feel like seeing all these different individuals just, coming up and receiving these awards? Because you also had an interview with every one of these individuals as you saw how they had some reservations about starting the business. They had a lot of them just didn't come with the experience to be able to sell at a high point, and now they're there. How did that make you feel?
No, it was emotional. It was emotional, and that's why I told a story as much as I could on every individual, because there was a story behind them. And there was the doubt and the fear, and a lot of them. And it wasn't so much that they feared. It was just like, I don't know where I'm going with this. I got my license, and it's like, I know what I want, but I don't know how to get to that point. So there was a lot of, within themselves, a lot of doubtful moments. So for me to stand up there next to them and hand them the reward, and it has a story behind that reward, to me was intense. It was emotional. It was satisfying to hand them that award, because I know the hard work that they went through.
Hard work.
They did the work. They did the work day in and day out. And they walked in the dark, and no matter what came in front of them, they tripped over it. They moved in, they kept moving forward, and then changing, modifying the process in front of them. Like, this isn't going to work. Okay, I'm going to keep going. And so to see that the many changes and to see who they are today, it was a bit touching. It really was. And I could, like I said, some stories were more intense than the other. And Real was one of them that stuck with me, only because I just remember those moments that just the part, I'm like, if he did this in his health, in his business, and then his relationship with his wife, it was just so many moving parts within Real's life that he was trying to get it all in one time, in 1 year almost. That's what it seemed like. Like, he was trying to get his health, his business, his marriage, all this together in just 1 year, compiling it. Like, you know what I mean? It wasn't like, he was finding a balance. He wanted to go at full speed. And he didn't stop. Nothing got in his way. And I know the bike seems so like, a funny story, but it was real. He didn't have a bike, and he came up with an excuse. I don't have one. I'll go. And I'm like, no. You can use mine. And that moment he got on that bike, he was on a mission to catch up with you guys. Because the next day, I think it was the next day you guys went out, he ended up purchasing a bike of his own. So he didn't stop. Do you see what I'm saying? It was like a consistent. It wasn't like, let me stop and ask myself 1,000 questions. Let me just move forward. And he purchased us a bike, and he kept going. So he was one story that really, really stuck to me, only because I even forgot. But as soon as I started talking about it, I was like, oh my gosh.
And something that I mentioned was, doing the work despite of seeing the results, right? Doing the work despite seeing the immediate payoff, doing the work despite all the pain, all the obstacles. And that is so difficult. And I think, getting reinforced by a group like AZ and Associates, right, where we're here constantly. You're talking about it, I'm talking about it. If you walk through the doors of AZ and Associates, everyone talks about it. And everyone, and people that talk to these individuals, anyone within our organization, they understand what the motto is, that it's all based on faith in ourselves and faith outside of ourselves. And I think we have to be true believers on understanding that we have to be guided. We have to be guided as humans. I refuse to believe that we're the epitome of what humankind is. I believe there is something greater guiding us. And if we allow that guidance, and we also look within ourselves, because having faith is having faith in ourselves as well. And we have to grow internally as well. And that's what I witnessed on the stage. From every individual that went up there, I saw that they were being guided by something greater. They were being guided by not just simply money, right? They were being guided by just a higher responsibility on how to run efficiently and effective and powerfully in the game of life. And that's what I saw. I didn't say, we didn't talk about what great things they were able to buy, what great houses they live in.
We didn't.
We talked about who they were as humans.
Right. We didn't talk about, there was no congratulation on the, materialistic bullshit.
Yeah.
It was, I wanted everyone to see the greatness within them and all the paths, all the journey that they have been on. I wanted to bring it back. And I think that even them themselves, I can mention several that were kind of shocked with the story, because they're like, oh, I forgot about that. And so it was a little emotional, because I think I even took them back, because I didn't care about handing them the trophy. I didn't care about, what great things you purchased yourself and what you did for your business with this, the money and the success that you got in this award. I didn't care. I just wanted you to know, like, hey, you're not even there yet. You're not even done. Like you're not even halfway done. There's so much more greatness and just power within you that I'm going to make sure that I continue lighting that light up if you're in my life. And I don't want the fire to go out within you. So it was just an amazing journey, I guess, that I took them down that they even forgot. They're just amazing individuals, and I'm so grateful and blessed that we're able to have those stories here within our house.
And there was another award that we give out for the first time, right? And we called it the Lighthouse Award. And the Lighthouse Award was inspired by a passage in the Bible. It was Matthew 14:16. And it says, "You are the light of the world. A city set on a hill cannot be hidden. A city set on a hill cannot be hidden. Nor do people light a lamp and put it under a basket, but on a stand. And it gives light to all in the house. In the same way, let your light shine before others so that they may see your good." And, when I start thinking about all the individuals that have crossed through or have crossed through, through our lives or entered the doors of A's and Associates, they become that light. They become a beacon of light. And there was one individual that we recognize because he's brought in so many individuals into A's and Associates by simply being him. He's not out there recruiting and saying, hey, you got to join here because you'll make more money. People are getting attracted to him because he's living his life on fire. And he's shining his light upon others, and they get inspired. And we've had those individuals now join us, and he brought in quite a few agents, and his name is Rudy Flores. And it was my honor just to have him on stage because he's shined so bright. And you even mentioned, told a story about him and his wife and his family on how much he's changed himself, and now is changing others. Yeah,
and I think, and I told Rudy after, I gave him such a great big hug, because I think he's just an amazing soul. And his purpose is definitely, he's serving his purpose. And I'm going to tell you how he's serving his purpose. He's listening to his voice. He's not out there marketing agents to come on board. He's actually, it's like he's choosing the right ones that are meant to be here.
Yeah.
And that's what's amazing about him. He's not the marketer. He's not picking up the phone. He's not wasting that time. But he is giving back, and he's listening to that voice that's saying, hey, reach out to this person, reach out to this person. And I got to tell you why. Because every single person Rudy has brought, men and women especially, they come with a story, with a phenomenal story, and they just need a perspective, a different perspective, a different voice. And there's one particular person he has brought to me, and he reached out to her as well. Hey, come on board. And I'm not going to tell her story because it's nobody's business, but Rudy reached out to her and said, hey, you got to go talk to Carla. Her and I connected very, very well. I've coached her once or two times. And I just remember giving her some assignments, and it changed her life forever. And I am no angel, but I definitely brought a different perspective into her life. And that's just one of many. But what's amazing, I told Rudy, is like you're serving your purpose because you're not reaching just out to anyone. You're reaching out to those that need to be part of this brokerage for whatever reason it is. And you won't know that. Your purpose is not to know the reason. Your purpose is to bring them on board so we can go in and we can shine a light on them. And so, I love that every single one of those individuals that Rudy has brought on board. I've known them all well, and I know their story, and it's just amazing. So I'm so thankful for Rudy being part of this brokerage because, Rudy, you are, if you're listening to this, you are definitely serving your purpose in a different light because you're listening to that inner voice that's telling you, reach out. They need to be part of, do the work. They need to be part of AZ & Associates. Maybe short-term, long-term. I know AZ and I are serving our purpose by shining the light on them. So it's just like kind of a domino effect. One person listens and then they bring them on, and and then they go out to the world and they shine. And that's what is meant because, those individuals they're just needing a different light shined on them. That's all it is. It's not that they're lost. It's not that they're confused or shattered human beings. No, they just need to be part of our lives. We need to be part of their lives because I know every person that walks in and tells me a story and I'm able to shine the light on them, a different perspective. It makes me understand and change me as a person as well. And I get to know more about myself as well.
It's more satisfying. And I had a side conversation with Rudy. It is more satisfying. Life becomes more satisfying when you're able to appreciate your own journey, your own experiences. And that's why I encourage, a lot of people think that, I just want them to be out there so for the sake of them getting transactions, right? Because I tell everyone, put yourself out there. Tell a story. What have you experienced? What have you gone through? How have you overcome? And it's not necessarily about, getting the end result of a client, but it's appreciating your journey, appreciating your life, your experiences, the good, the bad, the ugly, the tragic, everything in between. And being able to own who you are powerfully. And when you do that, you do shine a light upon, because you shine a light in those dark places within yourself. It now reflects onto other people and shines the light on them.
And that's
that
another
allows
thing.
them to also see something greater for themselves.
And that is nothing, AZ. The way I see it is, if you don't find that purpose within yourself on sharing that light with others, I feel, and I've seen it done, you become a resentful, hateful individual.
You wither away as well.
Right. And it's just, it becomes ugly. Your story within you becomes ugly because it just starts to rot. It starts to rot, and misdirected anger comes out, and all these other things start to come out. And then you start to become two individuals. You start to become one person when you're really this person, so it's just, you start to posture. You start to become somebody you're not, because you don't want anyone to know that rot inside of you, when it really isn't. It's just a story that is just rotting inside of you. And so I always tell this to people. It's like, when stories are there, sitting there, they're not meant to be told to your family and friends, because, well, they're just going to pat you on the back and say, wow, congratulations, great job, you went through it, oh man, awesome, thanks for, I'm glad I'm listening to it, or whatever the case may be. It's meant for complete strangers to hear, and whatever that is, it can be whatever it is, but continuously work on that story that you may or may not have, or something's there that's stopping you, or whatever it is, right? To just continue shining the light on others, because people want to see that. People want to see your vulnerabilities. People want to see what you've gone through in business and in personal life and your marriage. People want to see. It doesn't mean that you need to go out there and expose your whole life. That's not what I'm saying. That's not what I'm saying. But the more you comfortably talk behind the camera day in and day out, the more powerful it becomes. The more powerful you become within you. And then you start to discover more and more about yourself as well.
It's a declaration of leadership as well. And people need leadership in this day and age of total chaos and so much information coming at them, that it takes really strong people just to say, hey, this is who I am, and this is where I'm going, and come with me. Mm-hmm. And people are just looking for that type of direction. And you can be that individual. And I believe that every person that has walked through the doors of Asians and Associates or do the work programs are those individuals. We're leaders leading other leaders. Mm-hmm. And we have to take on that responsibility. But there's some that just refuse it. And they're struggling, and they continue to struggle, or they don't feel that passion in life because they haven't lived up to the role they were meant to play. The role they were meant to play is to be a leader and to live powerfully, and to be able to guide others. If you want to find satisfaction in a business that's full of just, it's a dog-eat-dog world out there when it comes to real estate. But if you want to survive and live powerfully through that, you got to be able to help others out. And the way you do that is to shine your light upon others. Right. And Rudy's done a phenomenal job with that. And I'm going to continue to encourage all of you to do that, to continue to just to shine your light. And I know it feels uncomfortable sometimes. I know I did for many years. Carla, you were witness to that. And then you went through your own journey of putting yourself out there. And I did 350 plus videos in 2014. Little did I realize how much I started to appreciate myself, how much confidence I got, and how much appreciation for the journey that I lived that I was so ashamed of, because it was rotting within me. Mm-hmm. Those stories were rotting within me, and I was being rotten. Mm-hmm. And as I started shining the light on it, it no longer, it bloomed to something greater. It became a beautiful flower. It became a beautiful life. And we just showed, and the reason we're talking about this is because we have so much appreciation for everyone that's here, that continues to run with us, that continues to believe not only in us, but in themselves and in a higher source to guide them through this. And it's an incredible life, Carla.
No, it is. And I was on an interview the other day, and they had asked me how the business started to grow, and the conversation behind that podcast interview really wasn't about business, because I was like, I didn't tap into the business. I started tapping into myself on a personal level. And that was the only way my business was going to start to grow and blossom, because I needed to find out what was stopping me from believing who I really was, and stop believing on the person I am, because I know there's more to me. So on the personal side of it, I started discussing more. I just started walking with faith. I started believing. Faith, yeah, I started walking in the dark. I started understanding, I'm supposed to trip and fall. I'm supposed to get up. I'm supposed to go through all this. And I'm not supposed to find the light switch. I'm not. because this is where I'm supposed to be, is walking with faith and walking in the dark, to understanding the process in the dark. And it just became easier and easier and easier. So it's kind of like, I'm in the studio right now and you shut the lights. I know exactly where everything's at because everything is just placed in, like a process, right? So I know I'm going to walk around the cameras. I can be in the dark and know exactly where I'm going. Because I know I'm just going to let it guide me, and understanding that, trust the process. I know where everything's at. But if you're in the dark and you're just kind of tripping and falling, you're obviously, and then afraid, it just becomes even scarier. But with me in that podcast, I loved it because I was talking about, I heard myself, and I'm like, I'm not talking business. My business didn't grow through business. My business grew on a personal level. When I started to grow personally, internally, like in there, then everything else started to blossom around me. And that's one of the things. I just did the work day in and day out, getting to know more about myself. It became really extremely scary. If I couldn't do that, the business wasn't going to survive. It wasn't. I wasn't going to show up powerful.
Well, our marriage wasn't going to survive.
Nothing was going to survive. Our marriage didn't survive. Our business wouldn't survive. My relationship with my children, if that didn't become strong, that was going to fall apart. So I was going to worry about my kids. I was going to worry about being the horrible mom and a workaholic and all these other things. So there had to be, it's a never ending. It's never ending. But at the end of the day,
so satisfying.
Yeah,
right?
It is. It's, I don't know. And when I have conversations with people, I do have, when I have deep conversations, I don't talk business so much, because it's always on a personal level, why you believe you cannot be that powerful person. So. And
it truly is. When people come to us, the conversation may start in business, but it never truly is it the business issue. It's things outside of the business that are keeping them from growing the business.
We had somebody visit us. They paid a visit to us. They're not part of this brokerage. And you made a phone call, and the individual was, I'm not going to say she or he, but the individual was waiting for us or waiting for me to pull in. And I did, and I showed up, and they were like, I was waiting for you. And so we were talking business, and then it led to one simple question. Why are you here? Yeah. And they started talking. I said, okay, let's stop the bullshit. Why are you here? And so she's like, they were like covering their face. They're like, shit, I knew that you were going to call me out. I'm like, well, I'm not your friend. Yeah. If I was your friend, I would say congratulations on your success, but you're obviously not where you should be. So what brings you here? And then it became personal on that, straight personal. And I definitely left the individual with a ton of questions. And again, that's what I say. If I leave you angry with questions, I did my job. If you're coming in here to visit from another brokerage, you're not here to say hi. You're here because you have questions on where you're at. So I'm going to question you. Yeah. I'm not going to say, oh, great, nice to see you. How are you? It was like, okay, what brings you here? Let's talk. So I brought them in, and it was just like, bam, I left you with questions. Yeah. And now you're questioning yourself. Great, I did my job.
Yeah, I love that. One time you said, if I pissed you off, great, I did my job. And because you speak in truths, and we've learned to speak in truths. And I think the people here only will accept us that way, right? They don't want to be sugar-coated. They don't want to be told everything's going to be okay. They just got to understand that they have it within them. They want to be encouraged that they have it with them to be able to overcome whatever it is, whether it's a health issue, a marriage problem, or a business obstacle. They just want to hear that sometimes, just like you and I do. When we hire our coaches and our mentors, we just want to be reassured. We paid hundreds of thousands of dollars just to be reassured, not to be saved, And again, that goes on the whole premise of do the work. It's a faith-based statement, letting you know that there is a result for you, but you have to continue with your process so that your system becomes, a process that, or I kind of mumbled that around, but your system becomes so good that it's not, that it will forever just continue to pay its dividends to you.
Right.
And
right. And again, it's what you said. If your processes are not strong, your system will fail every time.
Yes.
And next thing you know, you have several systems under you. And that's the way it is. And they're all falling apart. They're not consistent. It's not the system that's broken. It's the processes that are broken.
I love it. Well, we better end this here, but I do want to comment. I want to read some of these comments that came through. We got one. Can you make that a little bigger for me, please? Is there a possibility? There you go. Rio, You guys have a gift in seeing hidden talent, challenging us in your own fun-loving, hard-ass way. It's up to us to rise to the occasion. The results are limitless to those who lean in. To those who take it for granted, they get to watch on the sideline. And I think we do have some individuals that have taken it for granted. I don't think they understand that they're in the best environment to help them get whatever they want in life. And we missed that for many years, Carla. We went down this path of just total destruction.
I don't think I've ever met, when I signed on an agent, I don't think I've ever, forgotten or missed it. Every agent I've ever signed on, I'm like, take advantage of us. Yeah. Literally. Take advantage of us while you're here. And what I mean by that is lean in. Don't disappear. I don't care if you're part of a team. I don't care if you came in for John Doe. I don't care. Lean in. Lean in. And there's so much we can show you through our lives and a different perspective. But yeah, there's those individuals that just want to hang their license. I get it. But if you're here, take advantage.
Take advantage. Lean in. Lean in. You have no greater environment for you to blossom to the person you were meant to be. And yet some people still resist that. And maybe they're afraid, right, of their own greatness. And I know that's been talked about before, about being afraid of the responsibility that comes with that greatness. But once they're ready, we're always here. It's not like we're saying, oh, okay, you haven't leaned in, so you're no longer welcome. Right. It's like when you're ready. But I'm encouraging those of you that are out there, just continue to even be on this mindset mastery, be on the sales calls, reach out to us. It's like, you'll be surprised. Go into our buildings. Our top producers said that you want to increase your.
I don't know any top producer within our brokerage that has their door closed. No. Every top producer here loves to teach. They love to shine the light on those individuals because not everyone gets the same results. Not everyone has the same followers. It's different for everyone, but the system is there. And I'm telling you that every top producer has their door wide open. Yeah. And willing to teach you what they know so you can go on and modify what works best for you.
But the thing is that you can't come in and pick and choose. It's like you have to be involved first. You have to be able to be here first. It's not like you miss all the coaching calls, you miss all the meetings, and all of a sudden we're going to have an hour, 2 hours for you. It's not the way it works. It doesn't
work that way.
You have to show your dedication first, your commitments first.
Yeah. You have to do the work day in and day out all across the board, not just pick and choose.
Yeah. Let's go with the next one. Rudy, I appreciate and love you both. You made such a big impact on my life and my life. Thank you, man. Thank you for all you both have done and continue to do that. That allows for us all to just having a hard time. Let me read that again. Thank you for all that you both have done and continue to do that allows for us to just be better and grow in turn, for us to do the same for others. And it's just a domino effect, right? You shine the light on others and you're hoping that others shine the light on those that need it. Patrick, that's what I love about the brokerage, real life stories and struggles, not about the material things. Even the heavy hitters focus on the journey. It's very, our conversations, Carla, I don't ever think we ever talk about how much money or what we're buying, where we're going on vacation. The conversations always go much deeper than that. And even when I join other conversations, as other agents are talking, it's never that superficial conversation. It's never that posturing conversation, materialistic conversation. It's always many levels deeper than what I think most people in this industry talk about. Let's go here, and I can't see the very top. Okay, there we go. Can you now expand on that, please? There we go. I mentioned to Rio the other night that before I made a decision to come to A's and Associates, I prayed about it. God knew I wanted to be at a place that was going to give me the very best opportunity to grow by becoming the best version I can do of myself. There were several other brokerages I was looking at, but God led me to exactly where I needed to be. I humbly share this story because I've grown more in the last 8 months than I have in the last several years. Thank you, AZ and Carla, for creating a foundation built on God and hard work. You guys are truly an inspiration to us all. Thank you so much for that.
Thank you, Edgar.
That's huge, man. Huge. Felipe, thank you both, Vito, and everyone I work with and collaborate with. Thank you very much, Felipe. And we do have one more. Let's see here. Raquel Vidal. Carla, what you said about not being two different people and rotting on the inside. Wow, you hit the nail on the head. This is so deep and true. Thank you for your insights. Being a part of this brokerage is going to help me become a better person, and I can't wait to meet her. I love that. You always said that too. It's like, you see that, go get her. Go get that person that you see. Thank you for what you and AZ do for us. Thank you for
You
that.
know, Raquel, I love and what you said, and she finished the sentence, and what you said about being in the darkness grows in your faith. Yes, you know, Raquel and I have had right when I saw Raquel when she first signed on, I looked at her and I was so amazed by her like inner strength and her beauty, and she just said she was fighting against it. You know, she's like, she would question what I would tell her, and she would like, what really, you see that in me? I'm like, more than you think.
Yeah.
And so I'm just so glad, Raquel, you joined, because you and I had some hard conversations on the phone. And I remember one time I got so...
I think you threatened her.
I kind of threatened you, Raquel, in the beginning. You know, I did. I threatened you that I was going to knock you out because she said to me, I just feel overwhelmed. And I'm like, what the? And then you can only imagine what Carla Araujo said to her. And I actually had to call her back and say, I apologize. I didn't mean to talk to you so aggressively. I just got so angry because from the very beginning you walked into this brokerage, I saw more within you than you probably saw of yourself. But you had to do the work. I could only come with the truth and telling you you're a very powerful woman, and your personality shines, and you are in the perfect setting. So we can make sure that your fire is just continuously grows. I just want to see you blow up. I want you to... I just can't even tell you what I just pray for you, Raquel, that great things happen for you. And I've actually caught AZ in the kitchen one day and I just started crying. He's like, what's wrong? And I'm like, Raquel, I don't think she realizes how powerful that she is. She's just an amazing person. And I remember, and I told you, and I was so frustrated because I'm like, I want to see great things for Raquel. And you are well on your way. So I'm just so grateful that you are part of this brokerage, Raquel.
Yes, and I love what you said, Carla. I can only come with you with the truth, but you have to do the work. And, you know, truth is what everyone expects. And, you know, I love it. And that statement about, you know, your faith grows in the dark. It is so true. You know, when we have faith in the light, it's more of appreciation, but we have to be in those dark places, and we have to own it and navigate powerfully in those dark places. And when you're in the light, it just seems more rewarding at the end of it all.
Yeah.
So we have other comments. Raquel, thank you. And yeah, I think she was laughing because of that knock you out statement. Andrea. Well, thank you guys for joining us for this special episode of Mindset Mastery. Carla, I want to thank you for being able to shine the light. Not only on that night, I just sat back listening to your stories about the different agents. And there was a lot of stories I didn't even know.
I know.
There was one about Gabe, about saying, hey, when do we get paid? He had no idea how the industry. Now he's one of our top producers, selling over $10 million in real estate sales a year. And he's just getting started. I saw him. He had this conviction in his eyes that he's just said, I'm not done yet. I'm not done yet. But the very first day he walked into your office and says, how do I get paid? Well, you haven't sold anything. This is not work 40 hours and then you get paid. He did not know that process, and I'm just so proud of that guy. There was just so many great stories.
I wish I had more time.
Yesenia was out in the crowd with her son Miguel, who's now part of the coaching program as well, and she had so much faith in us before we were actually something.
I was gonna say Yesenia Espinoza, man, she saw more in us than we saw in ourselves.
We needed her as that inspiration. She was there,
and we're so grateful for you, Yesenia. If you're listening to this call, there's so many stories that I could have said.
Ruben and Karina, just what they've built and what they're doing.
Ruben and Karina,
you know,
another. That's I posted
something.
Such a beautiful thing about Karina, because I got to tell you, she's just an amazing human being, and we're just so grateful to have so many of them part of our lives, because they stuck with us. They saw it.
But you said that we were kids. We saw each other grow up, and we saw our businesses grow up. But more than anything, our families just flourish.
Yeah,
our families and how focused we are on marriage and kids and fitness and you know. Bringing others up along with us.
Yes.
It is a responsibility that you all have, guys. Like, I'm going to put this back on you. It's not for us to keep. It's not for us to only be able to live like this. It's like, it's your responsibility to rise up and lead others. That's what life is about. I think we found the purpose of life, Carla. It really is. I really do. Is to understand who you are, appreciate all of who you are, and then shine that light so bright on others that on yourself that it shines on others. And we're going to leave it at that, right, Carla?
Yep. It's a beautiful thing. I love today's Mindset Mastery. Thank you for having me on here. It's actually really awesome. I was glad to recap the night. Like I said, there's so many stories I knew about everybody, and just so grateful and blessed that night. I could be there all night telling these funny stories. AZ brought up a second career for me, or a third career, I should say, being a comedian. I don't
Yeah,
think
I
that's
think
going
you
to work
should be
out. AZ said, Carla, seriously, let's put you on stage as a comedian. I'm
It's
like,
just-
I don't even know that I'm a comedian,
I think
honestly.
improv. I think you got to do
Improv. I'm just, you know, watch out, guys. I might come out on that.
Yeah, I'm gonna just put a camera on.
I
you
don't
to-
even realize I'm freaking being a comedian. I'm just being Carla. But I guess I modify my stories a little bit, huh? Kind of exaggerate them.
You exaggerate the hell out of some stories.
I really don't mean to. That's the way I see them in my head or my mind. I really don't.
You're almost like you multiply everything times
I'm
like
just,
5 or 10.
that's how I read that's how I read them in my mind.
All right,
I mean,
guys.
that's how I see them.
Well, again, we want to thank you for joining us for this episode of Mindset Mastery. I am your host, AZ Araujo, along with Carla Araujo, and we'll see you next time. Thank you very much. Talk to you soon. Bye now. Thank you for joining us for this episode of Badass Agents Podcast, brought to you by AZ & Associates and Do the Work Coaching and Consulting. You can watch this and other episodes by subscribing to our channel on YouTube or by visiting us directly at badassagents.com. And of course, you can listen to this episode and many others on your preferred podcast provider.